Sonic fans, it's here. We finally have Sonic the Hedgehog 3, so let's talk about it. Now before I start the review, I just want to say that I don't really know any Sonic lore. I know who the characters are, but I just don't know what the lore is. I don't pay attention to the games, I don't pay attention to the shows. My only knowledge of the lore of Sonic is through these movies. So, with that, let's start the review. A new addition to this franchise is Shadow, played by Keanu Reeves, and Keanu Reeves does an awesome job at playing Shadow. Keanu Reeves was such a perfect pick for Shadow. Now, I would have also liked the idea of Hayden Christensen, which was rumored to be Shadow, but Keanu Reeves is another awesome pick. His voice just matches Shadow. He himself just sounds like Shadow and brings off just a Shadow vibe. He was such a great add to this movie, and I want to see more of his character. And Jim Carrey is back, playing two characters, himself and himself. Jim Carrey is being Jim Carrey in here. He's pulling off his jokes that Jim Carrey normally pulls off as Eggman in these movies. We'll talk about that later on though. Jim Carrey is back doing his amazing work that he always does. Now this movie wastes no time and jumps right into the story from the get-go. It starts off, we already see Shadow. Sonic team is already up against Shadow by the time we're 10 minutes into the movie. I liked how the movie didn't waste any time and we just jumped right into it, because if you look at the first two Sonic movies, there's about like a plot 20 minutes in, then the story starts. No, but this one jumps right into it, doesn't waste any time, and just starts with the non-stop action. Now the action in here is absolutely incredible. Like I said, it's non-stop, so the entire movie you're basically getting non-stop action. You have a joke, you have story beats, but basically this movie is non-stop plot point, plot point, plot point, with action scenes thrown in there, and keeps you invested throughout the entire story. In that third act of this movie, like I said, I don't know the lore of Sonic, but I am a Dragon Ball fan, and the third act of this movie was epic. This thing was absolutely epic. Now, this was a final battle of a movie. I would watch this movie again in theaters just for the final battle alone. And those post-credit scenes too. It left me giddy. From a non-Sonic fan. Let's talk about the humor. I felt like the humor was able to balance between the Jim Carrey joke stuff and the serious stuff. What basically happens is the serious stuff happens, but it doesn't make a joke in the middle of a serious scene. It makes a joke at like the end when it cuts to a new scene. It doesn't make the joke in the serious scene. It normally cuts to like Jim Carrey doing something, but the joke is not made in the scene and breaks the tension of the scene. It's the scene after it like breaks the tension, but you can't really keep that tension throughout the whole movie for a movie like this. But I liked how it was able to pick the moments of seriousness and comedic, was able to balance the two together. We also got to see the Sonic team together. Now we saw some of it at the end of Sonic 2. We saw the team together, but this movie, we see the team together throughout the whole thing. We get to see Tails as the brains, Knuckles as the muscle, and Sonic as the fast guy, or the leader. We get to see each member play their part in the story. I do wish Knuckles got a bit more screen time. He has his moments, but I feel like during the main plan of the movie, he didn't really have much to do. He helped, but I wish Knuckles got more. This movie made me connect to Tails more and Shadow. I like Tails a lot more in this movie than I did before. And best of all, no human subplots. No wedding plot. Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, Shadow, Eggman, they're the main focus here. Not the humans. They're the main focus. The people you want to see is the main focus of the movie. Now that wasn't a huge problem in the Sonic franchise, but Sonic 2 had it there, and the Knuckles show also had it in there, so it's glad to know that Sonic 3 doesn't really have any of that. Now, if you're a Sonic fan, you're absolutely gonna eat this up. Like I said, don't really know the lore of Sonic, right? I just know who the characters are. And I was geeking out at the end of this movie. So if you're a Sonic fan, you're definitely going to be geeking out throughout this movie. Because when the high moments hit, the high moments hit. Basically, it takes away all the problems with the movie. But they're there, so let's talk about it. The main problem in here is the silly moments. I kind of talked about this. It said, They picked and choose the moments, but Jim Carrey's gotta be Jim Carrey. And it's gonna make some goofy joke right after a serious moment. Like I said, it's the scene after, but the joke is just gonna be so goofy. Just this version of Eggman, though, with Jim Carrey, works. His humor works for this, which is why I'm not mad at it, because it's Jim Carrey's character in here. Eggman in this movie is basically Jim Carrey in the flesh. But the silly moments can affect the mood. And the movie can also just rush into the plot too fast. I would have liked just a bit more space in the beginning of the movie before we jump to the plot. And just a brief pauses here and there in the plot too to kind of slow down, because a lot of stuff was happening, which, you know, with Shadow and Eggman, stuff happening. So of course it's going to be non-stop stuff happening, but it would have been nice to like take a breather here and there. But Sonic 3 is exactly what Sonic fans want. I was speaking out throughout this movie, and I wasn't even a Sonic fan. Third act is something, post-credit scenes are something, Shadow is something. This movie is probably the best Sonic movie yet. And if you're a Sonic fan or not, definitely worth checking out for the Christmas season. Oh, whoa. I have a Sonic ranking right here. Or, if you want to see the competition of Sonic 3 review, you can find Mufasa right here. But with that, thanks for watching.